touch. What you really need for sure is you're aiming for consistency. So if you have a space that's a little bit bigger on one side as you do a step in the design than it is on another, what will happen is that side will get a little longer than the other side. So you want to be consistent. If you're not going to aim for being as close as possible, aim for your spacing to be consistent. So there's the next step. Still working with Ocean Breeze, we're switching to tool number 6, and we're going to do this step 8 times, but there's 2 parts to this step. So we're going to nestle in on each side of the last step we did, 1 dot. And again, I'm reapplying the paint each time. So you have to do that on every spot. So go ahead and do that. And in the booklet I'm currently working on, I'm working on writing out the vocabulary that I use, so that there's like a vocabulary list, like a word bank, a terminology, a glossary of dotting terms that I've made up to help make the patterns make sense to people. So that will hopefully help with some of the things I'm designing now, some more complicated pieces. So that will be available very shortly, which is exciting. Okay, so there's that step. And now the next step in the design takes quite a while to do, especially if you're beginning. And it's going to be done with this particular tool. So this tool has some special features in that if I dip it into the paint and then allow it to be used multiple times, it will make smaller and smaller dots. So what I'm going to tell you with this design is it helps if you apply the paint once, twice, and then allow it to taper. I call that a taper. So it will outline all the way around. And as you create these, so I'll do this one a little bit slower so you can see it. You should try to nestle it in as close to this bigger blue dot and the Ocean Breeze dot that was right before, as close as you can. People will often ask me, well, do I have to have the same amount of dots on the left side as I do on the right side? They really worry about that. And what I say to them is a couple of things. First of all, the short answer is no. What really visually, when this is all done, you'll want to see is that the spacing is even. If you're aiming for, to have 7 on each side, and that's your goal, you may decide to do that, but the spacing in order to do that is really squishy on one side and really spacious on the other side. And your eye is going to notice that more than if you have a really tight-knit set of dots outlining your big dots, and there is a different amount on each side. So aim for spacing, and I'm going super, super fast so that I can get this done. This will be the longest step. So this will come with time as far as the consistency of the spacing is. And as I make these designs for you, I am putting down some suggestions for how many times you should reapply your paint before it will taper around. If you start to taper too soon, what will happen is it will peter out and you won't have any paint left on your tool. And people might think, well, hey, you could just go back over it. But because those are smaller and smaller dots, you actually won't be successful doing that. If you try to put a larger dot where there's a smaller dot, the spacing's all different, and you end up just kind of making bigger dots on smaller dots and the spacing going away. So that's not ideal. And the other thing is, if you're playing around on your own, you don't know the spacing, you can certainly test it out. Get yourself a strip of cardstock and put down the size dot you're working with, and then take this tool and see if it will make its way around if you're not sure. So there, I've talked my way around the whole 8. That's the longest step. There we go. So they are outlined. Next we're going to take bright yellow, and it's number 3. So we have just 2 more sets of 8 dots to go, and we are now working back in the line that we kind of abandoned for a while. So I'm going to flip it up so you can see it. So it's in line with the turquoise in the little tiny pale blue. But it's kind of squishing in a nice little happy spot between those tapered dots we just did. So we do that all the way around the 8 times, and I'm going real super quick here for you. Okay, and that's it. That one kind of flipped a little bit, so it got a little bit goopy. And then the last step is tool number 7 again, and sometimes I do this even though I normally work outwards. This is going to work back inwards. So we're just going to go back in and put a little tiny number 7 dot, reapplying the paint each time, and this should line up with the center. Now if I was having all the time in the world, I would rotate this every single time and make sure it is completely in line, but I just want to save time here and get it so it's all done for you, this layer. So that is layer 1. So these are painted in layers, and what I have to do now is let that completely dry. So I have one here that is dry, and we'll get to that in a second. I just want to show you how to use the instructions. So the instructions come like this, and they are a chart, and we just work down through layer 1. So I give you the approximate size, I show you a finished picture, and I give you a paint list of some names, and then what you would do is look for step A. So with step A, if you can see here, I have a picture of the first layer. So that's this when it's dry. This is layer number 1, and this is step A. So step A is the only one that's done once. And then on this instruction sheet on layer 1, I say what size tool to use to make that and what color. Then you would look for the next step. So you're looking for the B, which is here. Now I'm assuming as I make these, you know that this is done 8 times, so I've only put B down once. So you would find B, and then you would look to see for by B what size tool, in this case it's 6, and what color, bright yellow. So you would make your set of 8. From there on, you're making each step 8 times. So we just worked through layer 1. Once it's all dry, you would then move on to layer 2, and you can follow along to see what size tool and what color you use at each step. If I have put some asterisks here, that means there is nothing on that layer, and you would just leave it as it is. So layer 1 has something at every spot, layer 2 will have a few, and layer 3 will have just a couple. So that's how it works in between layers. You have to let it dry. So let's go ahead and do this. So we would have, oh sorry, I've got my wrong one. Here's the first layer. So we are going to put a number 3 Ocean Breeze, and it is the lighter Ocean Breeze. And putting it in the middle is probably the hardest because you're trying to get it exact. And that comes with practice. So I just do that once. And then the next one that has anything on it is the turquoise, and that is a 6 pale blue. I'm just reading my instructions here. So as I do this, what I want to do is leave, make sure I leave a little bit of the first layer exposed. And some tool combinations, that's very easy to manage. Other ones, as you're going to see soon, it takes a little bit of time, and you have to take some care to not apply too much pressure or you'll cover things up. So over my 6, I'm going to use a light Ocean Breeze to put a little bit of Ocean Breeze. So that's where my tool's going now. It's over the white. And I'm pretty quick, but you're going to take your time. There we go. And now we need tool number 2. And we're going to put turquoise over this big bright blue. So this is one of those times where you really need to be careful to not push down too hard, or you'll just completely cover up your bright blue, depending on how big you made it the first time especially. So if your tool numbers are 1 and 2, take care that they are not eliminating all of the dot that was underneath of it. And I'm going pretty fast here considering how big this is, so some of my dots might not be perfectly shaped. There we go. And then I'm going to need my light Ocean Breeze, tool number 6, and I'm going to put it at the tippy top of each of these, following my instructions. So one of the things that I'll just mention as I'm working here is that the pattern club that is set up now with Traveling Kindness Rocks, there are people currently from 7 different countries involved, which is so exciting. And part of the membership fees from each person goes to the charity that we together have input in and select. So I take, and I'm going to be working with tool number 7, and I'm going to put one little bit of Ocean Breeze on each of the spots right here while I'm talking. So I'm trying my best to spread the charities that we support around the world, and also to touch on the charities that Traveling Kindness Rocks recipients may be positively impacted by. So for example, there have been a number of Traveling Kindness Rocks recipients who have been on a journey with cancer. They are cancer warriors. So that's certainly something that we will work to touch on and support at some point. I'm also conscious to spread it around the world where we are supporting. So there's that, and then I have one more step. I'm going to use this tool again in turquoise, and I'm going to put one dot right in the center of that yellow. So that will be it for layer 2, and then we will let it dry. I'm going really quick here. And we just have a couple steps on the last one. So there's layer 2. We're going to let it dry, and of course I have one right here ready. This is layer 2, all dry and ready for its final layer. So I'm reading my instructions. I'm going to use number 6 tool, bright blue, and I'm putting a dot just in the very center. So remember, anything on step A is only done once. And then I need my 6, my 6 again, and light Ocean Breeze, and that's going on these bigger dots here. I like to call those highlight dots because they kind of make them pop. Someone asked me, will there only ever be 3 layers? Over time, I've kind of sorted out for me that 3 layers is what I like, although I have used more than 3 layers in some places in the past with my designs. So I may stray from that at some point as I create them. So there you go. We have successfully created this blue and yellow mandala together. So I hope that you will check out the website, get yourself the pattern, and give it a try. So you will need a set of tools. Give me a shout if you'd like to purchase some. You can purchase them on the website, and you can purchase some patterns as well on the website. And hopefully you'll decide to join us in the Pattern Club too and support some charities. Bye, everybody.